Not long ago, Oregon's housing market was operating at a relentless pace. From 2019 through 2022, home values in many cities surged between 40 and 60%. Builders rushed to break ground on new developments. Investors moved quickly, buying up properties with confidence. Remote workers poured into the state, bringing outside salaries and fueling even more demand. But here in 2026, the energy has clearly shifted. Monthly mortgage payments have climbed to nearly double what buyers were paying before 2020. In wildfire-prone areas, insurance costs have spiked dramatically, rising between 30 and 70%. At the same time, the steady stream of newcomers moving into Oregon has slowed considerably, while more residents are relocating out of state to places like Idaho, Arizona, Texas, and Washington. The result is striking. Across Oregon, a growing number of homes are sitting completely vacant, untouched, and unoccupied. Today, we're taking you inside 10 Oregon cities where vacancy rates are climbing the fastest in 2026, presented in the cinematic storytelling style you've come to expect from Discover the Cities. If you're new here, consider subscribing for deep dive housing investigations you won't find anywhere else. Now, let's get started. Number 10. Medford. Southern Oregon's once celebrated growth story has taken a sharp and uncomfortable turn. Only a few years ago, this city was welcoming new residents so quickly that even seasoned developers were caught off guard by the pace. Between 2020 and 2022, median home values climbed dramatically, rising from about $315,000 to more than $480,000, an increase exceeding 50% in a remarkably short window. New subdivisions stretched across East Medford, and freshly built homes confidently pushed past the $500,000 mark. Buyers arriving from California and Washington frequently paid in cash or offered well above asking price, determined to secure a property. But by 2026, that momentum has clearly cooled. Across Jackson County, active listings have jumped nearly 30% compared to the previous year. Properties priced between $475,000 and $550,000 are now lingering on the market for 80 to 110 days on average, a noticeable shift from the frenzy of just a few years ago. Many sellers have already trimmed $20,000 to $45,000 off their original asking prices, yet consistent showings remain hard to come by. In newer developments near North Phoenix Road and along Crater Lake Highway, it's not unusual to see multiple completed homes sitting empty at the same time, finished, polished, and waiting. Affordability has become the clear fault line. Median household income in the area still hovers between $68,000 and $72,000. At today's mortgage rates, financing a $500,000 home can mean monthly payments exceeding $3,200. And that's before factoring in taxes and insurance. In wildfire-prone zones, annual insurance premiums that once averaged around $1,800 have surged to $3,500 or even $4,000, pushing total ownership costs beyond what many local families can realistically manage. Builders are feeling the pressure as well. Several projects in southeast Medford and nearby White City were designed with expectations of absorbing 5 to 8 homes per month. Instead, unsold inventory is beginning to stack up. To spark demand, developers are rolling out aggressive incentives, $25,000 price cuts, interest rate buydowns, and closing cost credits. Even so, buyer traffic remains noticeably thin. The rental market reflects the same cooling trend. Apartment complexes that once operated at 97 to 99% occupancy are now reporting vacancy rates exceeding 10%. Rents that previously peaked around $1,900 for newer 3-bedroom units are beginning to soften, with concessions like 1 month free becoming increasingly common. Number 9. Salem, Oregon's capital doesn't usually steal the spotlight in housing conversations, but in 2026, it's drawing attention for reasons few expected. While Salem never experienced the explosive surge seen in places like Bend or Portland, home prices still rose at a pace that stretched affordability. Between 2019 and 2022, the median home price climbed from the low $300,000 range to nearly $460,000, an increase of more than 40% in just a few years. Now, those elevated prices are running headfirst into economic limits. Housing supply in Salem has grown by roughly 22% compared to last year, In neighborhoods such as South Salem, West Salem, and Kaiser, three-bedroom homes listed between $440,000 and $480,000 are sitting on the market for 75 to 100 days on average. Price cuts ranging from $15,000 to $35,000 have become increasingly common. Sellers who once anticipated bidding wars within days are instead recalibrating after weeks, sometimes months, of minimal buyer interest. The rental market shows even clearer signs of cooling. Recently built apartment communities in South Salem and along the northeast corridors are reporting vacancy rates between 11 and 14%, levels the city hasn't seen in more than a decade. During the height of the boom, units were snapped up within days. In 2026, landlords are rolling out incentives like lower security deposits, 2 months of free parking, or a complimentary month of rent just to keep occupancy steady. Affordability is tightening by the month. With median household income in the Salem area hovering around $70,000, financing a $460,000 home at current interest rates can easily push total monthly costs beyond $3,000 once property taxes, insurance, and utilities are factored in. Meanwhile, insurance premiums across Oregon have climbed sharply, in some cases rising 25 to 40% over the past 2 years, compounding the financial pressure. Migration trends are adding to the strain. Salem previously benefited from buyers relocating out of Portland in search of relatively lower prices, but that steady flow has slowed considerably. Some prospective homeowners are skipping Oregon altogether, choosing states where median home prices are $100,000 to $200,000 less expensive. With fewer newcomers entering the pipeline, the pool of qualified buyers has narrowed. In certain areas, particularly newer subdivisions on the city's edges, it's becoming common to see multiple homes vacant at the same time. Streets that were expected to fill quickly now display extended listing periods and repeated price adjustments. In 2026, Salem finds itself caught in a tightening vice. Rising ownership costs on one side and softening demand on the other. And with each passing quarter, the growing number of empty homes is becoming harder to miss. Number 8. Eugene. For a long time, Eugene seemed protected from the kind of volatility other markets experienced. With the University of Oregon anchoring the local economy, steady public sector employment, and a lifestyle that consistently attracted new residents, housing demand here felt reliable, even during broader uncertainty. But by 2026, that sense of insulation is starting to erode. Home values surged from roughly $350,000 in 2019 to nearly $500,000 at their peak, marking an increase of about 45% in just a few years. During that run-up, investor interest intensified, especially in neighborhoods close to campus and in areas like Ferry Street Bridge. Many buyers assumed student-driven rental demand would provide stable, predictable income for years to come. Now, that assumption is being tested. Vacancy is climbing in pockets that were once viewed as virtually guaranteed occupancy zones. Enrollment patterns have shifted. Hybrid learning models have become more common, and a growing number of students are opting for lower-cost housing options in Springfield and nearby communities. In some student-focused neighborhoods, vacancy rates have surpassed 15%, with empty bedrooms lingering well into the academic year. The softness isn't limited to rentals near campus. Single-family homes are also feeling the slowdown. In West Eugene and the South Hills, properties listed between $480,000 and $520,000 frequently remain on the market for 80 to 110 days before attracting serious offers. Sellers are increasingly trimming $20,000 to $40,000 from their asking prices, yet competition remains stiff as overall inventory continues to build. Rising ownership costs are adding another layer of pressure. Many homes purchased during the 2020 to 2022 surge are now due for significant maintenance. New roofs, updated electrical systems, plumbing repairs. At the same time, annual insurance premiums have jumped by 30% or more in certain cases. Investors who once projected strong monthly cash flow are reassessing their numbers and, in some instances, putting properties back on the market, further swelling supply. The rental sector reflects the same strain. Recently built townhome communities and apartment complexes that previously operated near full occupancy are now offering incentives to attract tenants. Three-bedroom units that once commanded rents above $2,000 are beginning to soften as renters consolidate households or move to more affordable cities. At its core, Eugene's challenge is imbalance. Prices accelerated quickly, but local incomes did not keep pace. Migration into the area has cooled. Investor confidence has moderated. By 2026, the outcome is increasingly visible. More vacant homes scattered across neighborhoods ranging from streets near the university to outer suburban developments. What once felt consistently stable now shows unmistakable signs of oversupply. Number 7. Astoria. At first glance, Astoria's coastal character seems untouched. Elegant Victorian homes still gaze out over the Columbia River, and during peak travel months, visitors continue to stream through the historic downtown. The scenery still looks like it belongs on a postcard. Yet in 2026, beneath that picture-perfect exterior, the housing market is showing unmistakable stress. From 2020 to 2022, median home prices in this northern coastal community climbed sharply, rising from the mid-$300,000 range to more than $520,000, an increase approaching 45%. Waterfront properties pushed beyond $600,000, with some nearing $700,000. Much of that surge was driven by second home buyers, remote workers, and short-term rental investors who were convinced that demand for Oregon's coastline would remain strong indefinitely. That confidence is now being tested. Vacancy is quietly expanding across hillside neighborhoods and along river-facing streets. Active listings have grown by approximately 26% compared to last year. Three-bedroom homes priced around $500,000 are lingering for 70 to 100 days, even after sellers reduce prices by $25,000 to $40,000. Properties once promoted as high-performing vacation rentals are seeing inconsistent bookings, and some owners have decided to step away entirely. Insurance costs are adding new pressure. Increased wind exposure concerns and updated coastal risk assessments have pushed annual premiums from roughly $1,500 to $3,000 or more in certain locations. When you combine that with property taxes and the ongoing upkeep required for aging historic homes, total ownership expenses have climbed far beyond what local median incomes, which hover near $65,000, can comfortably sustain. The short-term rental market has softened as well. Occupancy rates that once averaged above 70% annually have, in some cases, slipped closer to 50 to 55%. As rental income declines, investor-owned properties are returning to the market, swelling inventory at a time when buyer demand has cooled. Migration patterns are shifting, too. Fewer households from the Portland metro area are purchasing second homes along the coast, and more buyers are prioritizing affordability in inland cities instead. Without that steady flow of outside capital, the imbalance between available listings and qualified buyers is becoming increasingly apparent. In 2026, Astoria remains undeniably beautiful. But the underlying numbers tell a different story. Too many high-priced homes, rising carrying costs, and a sharply reduced buyer pool. The result is a growing collection of vacant properties quietly lining Oregon's northern coastline. Number 6. Roseburg. For a long stretch, affordability was Roseburg's biggest selling point. Retirees, growing families, and buyers relocating from out of state often saw it as a budget-friendly alternative to Oregon's larger metro areas. Back in 2019, a typical three-bedroom home could be purchased for somewhere between $270,000 and $290,000. That changed quickly. By 2022, many of those same houses were hitting the market at $380,000 to $410,000, a surge of nearly 40% in just a few short years. Now, in 2026, that sharp run-up in prices is running into a hard ceiling. Local wages simply haven't kept up. Median household income in the area remains below $65,000. Meanwhile, financing a $400,000 home at current mortgage rates can push monthly payments past $2,700. And that's before adding property taxes and insurance. For many local residents, affordability has tightened so much that qualifying for a loan at today's price levels is no longer realistic. At the same time, supply is building. Housing inventory has increased by roughly 30% compared to last year. In neighborhoods like Melrose and Green, Homes listed between $350,000 and $420,000 are typically sitting on the market for 75 to 95 days. Sellers are trimming $15,000 to $25,000 off asking prices more frequently, yet buyer traffic remains uneven. The vacancy becomes even more noticeable in newer construction zones. Developments in the northeastern parts of the city and around Garden Valley Boulevard show completed homes lingering unsold for months. Builders who once anticipated consistent monthly sales are now rolling out incentives: $20,000 toward closing costs, upgraded appliance packages, even interest rate buydowns, just to generate momentum. Despite those efforts, it's common to see several empty homes within the same subdivision at once. The rental market is reflecting similar softness. Apartment communities near downtown and along Stewart Parkway are reporting vacancy rates above 12%, levels the city hasn't experienced in more than a decade. Rent growth has flattened, and concessions are starting to return. Roseburg's issue is straightforward but significant. Home prices accelerated rapidly during the boom years, yet the local economy did not expand at the same speed. Without meaningful job growth or a steady wave of new residents moving in, housing demand has cooled. In 2026, the imbalance is clear. More homes are available than qualified buyers prepared to purchase them, leaving visible clusters of vacant properties across this part of southern Oregon. Number 5. Gresham. For years, Gresham carried the reputation of being the attainable entry point into the Portland metro housing market. Buyers who felt priced out of the urban core often looked east and found relative affordability here. But during the surge, that affordability narrowed quickly. Townhomes that typically sold for $360,000 to $380,000 in 2019 climbed to $450,000 or more by 2022. Newly constructed single-family homes in eastern sections of the city confidently pushed past the $500,000 mark. At the time, demand felt unstoppable. In 2026, that optimism has clearly cooled. Housing inventory has expanded by nearly 25% compared to last year, and listings are sitting far longer than they did during the height of the cycle. Homes priced in the mid-$400,000 range are now averaging 80 to 100 days on market. Sellers are trimming $20,000 to $35,000 from their asking prices, yet buyer activity remains subdued. Some townhomes that once attracted bidding wars are reappearing after contracts fall through. A major factor behind the slowdown is the shift in migration patterns. During the boom, a steady stream of buyers leaving inner Portland flowed into surrounding suburbs like Gresham. That pipeline has weakened considerably. In fact, some households are leaving Oregon altogether, drawn to states where median home prices are $150,000 to $250,000 lower. With fewer newcomers entering the area, the pool of active buyers has noticeably shrunk. At the same time, ownership costs have continued rising. Property taxes, insurance premiums, which in some cases have increased by 30 to 40%, and higher utility expenses are pushing total monthly payments beyond what many first-time buyers can realistically manage. Financing a $480,000 home at today's mortgage rates can mean housing costs exceeding $3,200 per month. Condos and townhomes are feeling even more pressure. Units located near major transit corridors and retail hubs are taking longer to sell, with higher days on market becoming common. HOA fees ranging from $350 to $450 per month are discouraging entry-level buyers and prompting some investors to list their properties, further expanding supply. The rental market reflects similar softness. Apartment communities that once operated near full capacity are now offering incentives such as a free first month of rent or reduced security deposits to keep units filled. In 2026, Gresham illustrates a broader reality across the metro area. Prices accelerated faster than incomes, migration slowed, and demand that once seemed permanent has eased. What was once viewed as the region's dependable fallback option is now seeing a rising number of homes sitting vacant. Number 4. Bend. For more than 10 years, Bend stood as a symbol of Oregon's housing expansion. Its outdoor culture, steady wave of tech-driven migration, influx of well-paid remote workers, and constant new construction combined to push home prices to heights many once considered unrealistic. From 2019 to 2022, median home values leapt from about $420,000 to over $720,000, a staggering increase of nearly 70%. On the west side, properties routinely surpassed $900,000. Brand new homes in top-tier neighborhoods approached and sometimes exceeded the $1 million mark. By 2026, however, that powerful momentum has slowed considerably. Across Deschutes County, inventory has climbed roughly 32% compared to last year. Homes listed between $750,000 and $950,000 are now spending 90 to 120 days on the market. Price reductions ranging from $40,000 to $100,000 are becoming routine. Sellers who once anticipated multiple offers within a single weekend are instead recalibrating after months of limited showings. The strain is especially visible in newer subdivisions on the east side of the city. Entire rows of recently finished homes remain empty. Some developments that originally projected full sellouts by 2024 are still carrying double-digit unsold inventory. Builders have responded with aggressive incentives, mortgage rate buydowns worth $25,000 to $50,000, and paid closing costs. Yet buyer absorption remains sluggish. At the center of the issue is affordability. Median household income in the Bend area ranges from approximately $85,000 to $90,000. Financing an $800,000 home at today's interest rates can easily produce monthly payments exceeding $5,000 before factoring in taxes, insurance, and HOA dues. That price point is simply unattainable for many local workers, including healthcare professionals, teachers, and service industry employees who form the backbone of the community. Migration trends have shifted as well. The once steady influx of buyers from California and Washington has slowed compared to peak pandemic years. Some remote employees are returning to major metro areas, while others are opting for more affordable markets in states like Idaho or Montana, where median home prices can run $200,000 to $300,000 lower. The rental market reflects similar softness. Higher-end rentals that previously filled almost immediately with incoming professionals are now lingering vacant. Luxury townhomes commanding $3,000 to $4,000 per month are increasingly offering concessions to attract tenants. In 2026, Bend faces a clear supply-demand imbalance. Construction ramped up when demand felt limitless, and prices surged far beyond local wage growth. Now, available inventory is outpacing the number of qualified buyers, leaving noticeable pockets of vacant homes in one of Oregon's most sought-after cities. Number 3. Tillamook County. Along Oregon's northern coastline, the housing slowdown isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle, steady, and unmistakable. For years, these coastal communities attracted retirees, remote professionals, and second home buyers who wanted ocean views without paying Portland-level prices. Between 2019 and 2022, that demand pushed median home values in several towns from the mid-$250,000 range up to $380,000 and even $420,000 in some areas, gains approaching 50% in just a few years. Now, in 2026, those elevated prices are colliding with economic limits. Median household income across much of Tillamook County still sits near $60,000. At today's mortgage rates, purchasing a $400,000 home can translate into monthly payments exceeding $2,700. And that's before factoring in insurance. Coastal insurance premiums have become a defining challenge. Updated flood risk assessments and wind exposure models have driven annual premiums from roughly $1,500 to $3,000 or more in certain zones. For properties closer to the shoreline, combined hazard and wind coverage can surpass $4,000 per year. Those added costs alone are pushing many would-be buyers out of contention. Inventory is climbing across communities such as Tillamook, Rockaway Beach, and Garibaldi. Homes priced between $320,000 and $420,000 are now averaging 80 to 100 days on the market. Sellers are trimming $15,000 to $30,000 from listing prices more frequently, yet buyer activity remains uneven. The vacation rental sector has also cooled from its peak. Annual occupancy rates that once hovered above 65% have, in some pockets, slipped closer to 50%. As rental income projections decline, Investor-owned properties are being put up for sale, adding further supply to a market already facing softer demand. Although new construction has slowed, partially completed developments near riverfront and coastal areas still show unsold inventory. Builders are attempting to stimulate interest with upgraded appliance packages, mortgage rate incentives, and closing cost credits. Even so, it's common to see multiple vacant homes clustered along the same streets. Migration trends are compounding the imbalance. Fewer buyers from the Portland metro area are purchasing second homes along the coast, and some longtime residents are choosing to relocate inland in search of lower insurance and maintenance costs. With incoming demand tapering off and ownership expenses rising, Tillamook County now finds itself with more available homes than its active buyer base can absorb. In 2026, the quiet lingering over certain coastal blocks isn't just seasonal. It signals a deeper structural shift in housing demand. Number 2. Beaverton. Long regarded as one of the most stable, family-friendly pillars of the Portland metro, Beaverton rarely faced serious vacancy issues in previous housing cycles. Strong local employment tied to major corporate campuses, top-rated schools, and convenient suburban amenities kept demand steady for years. By 2026, however, the landscape has changed. Housing inventory in Washington County has climbed roughly 25% compared to last year. Single-family homes priced between $620,000 and $700,000 are now averaging 75 to 95 days on market. Price cuts of $25,000 to $50,000 are becoming increasingly common, and sellers who once expected rapid contracts are adjusting their expectations after extended listing periods. Rising ownership costs are a major factor. Property taxes in many neighborhoods exceed $6,000 to $8,000 annually, while insurance premiums have surged 30% or more in some areas due to statewide rate adjustments and wildfire risk considerations. HOA fees in planned communities often range from $350 to $500 per month. When combined, these expenses can push total monthly housing costs on a mid-$600,000 property above $4,000. Condos and townhomes are facing even sharper challenges. Units near major transit corridors and employment hubs are selling more slowly, with some listings remaining on the market 90 to 120 days, despite $20,000 to $40,000 price reductions. Elevated HOA fees are discouraging first-time buyers and prompting investor-owned units to re-enter the market, further expanding supply. The rental sector reflects the same trend. Newer apartment communities near corporate campuses are offering concessions, such as a free first month or reduced deposits to maintain occupancy. Vacancy rates in some developments have climbed above 10%, compared to near full occupancy during the peak migration years. Migration patterns are also shifting. Beaverton once benefited from households relocating out of Portland's urban core, but many buyers are now skipping the metro entirely in favor of states with lower housing costs and taxes. In 2026, Beaverton serves as a clear illustration of suburban softening. A city once synonymous with stability is now experiencing rising inventory, longer listing times, and an increasing number of homes sitting vacant across multiple neighborhoods. Number 1. Portland. At the heart of Oregon's housing transformation sits Portland, the state's largest city, and in 2026, no other market in Oregon has a higher concentration of vacant homes. Once one of the West Coast's most competitive real estate environments, the city has shifted into a landscape marked by rising inventory, longer listing periods, and visible vacancy across multiple neighborhoods. Between 2019 and 2022, median home prices jumped from around $430,000 to nearly $570,000, reflecting gains of more than 30%. In certain high-demand pockets, including the Pearl District, Laurelhurst, Alberta, and Cleveland District, appreciation outpaced the citywide average. Condominiums in luxury towers routinely sold above $700,000, while updated single-family homes often sparked bidding wars within days. By 2026, that momentum has reversed sharply. Active listings across the metro area have surged roughly 35% compared to 2 years ago. Homes that once sold in under 10 days now frequently sit on the market for 90 to 120 days. Price reductions of $40,000 to $80,000 are increasingly common, and in higher-end segments above $800,000, Cuts exceeding $100,000 are no longer unusual. Condo towers in downtown and the Pearl District show some of the most striking signs of vacancy. Entire floors dark at night. High ownership costs are compounding the slowdown. HOA dues above $600 to $900 per month, combined with rising insurance assessments and maintenance reserves, have made ownership far more expensive than many buyers anticipated. Investors who purchased units at peak prices, expecting steady appreciation or rental income, are now listing properties at discounts, further increasing supply. Single-family neighborhoods are experiencing similar patterns. Streets that once felt hyper-competitive now have multiple for sale signs along the same block. Homes priced near $600,000 often require multiple price reductions before generating meaningful activity. With mortgage payments on these properties exceeding $3,800 to $4,200 per month, including taxes and insurance, ownership is out of reach for many households earning around the area's median income of $85,000. Migration trends are a major factor. In recent years, thousands of households have relocated to lower-cost metros like Vancouver, Boise, and Phoenix. Even within Oregon, cities like Salem and Redmond are absorbing residents who might once have stayed in Portland. Fewer incoming buyers mean a shrinking pipeline of active demand. The rental sector mirrors the cooling trend. Vacancy rates in several multifamily buildings have risen to 10 to 14%. Concessions such as 2 months free rent or reduced security deposits are increasingly common. Units that previously leased within days now remain available for weeks. Meanwhile, insurance premiums and property taxes continue to climb. In some neighborhoods, annual tax bills exceed $7,000 to $9,000, further raising monthly carrying costs. The outcome in 2026 is unmistakable. Inventory is elevated, demand has softened, and entire condo towers show persistent vacancy. Suburban neighborhoods display extended listing periods, builders are slowing projects, and sellers are adjusting expectations. Portland now stands as the clearest example of a market that expanded faster than its population growth could support.